Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? I hope you're well. Welcome to July in the kitchen garden. Oh my goodness. You can probably tell from my face actually, it's pretty warm, but it's muggy. That's the main thing. It's so close and muggy at the moment. So for the last few days it's been really warm. We haven't had a drop of rain since that rain we had at the beginning of the third week of June. And I think it really shows in the garden. Things, you'll see in a minute when we go out there, things are just starting to look like they're enjoying the warmth and get going a bit. Everything looks like it needs a really, really good soak, but the soak we get from the sky. So, I look like this because I've just spent the last hour watering and trying to keep my little garden alive. My goodness me. But and on the subject of feeling late with everything this year, I do still feel like I'm behind with things. I do feel like the garden looks smaller, or the plants look smaller than they did this time last year. But never mind, things are growing. We just have to be a bit more patient this year and maybe harvest things a little bit later down the line than we normally would. And as far as I can see on my site and in other friends' gardens, I think we're all in pretty much the same boat this year. So, not panicking, wishing things would grow a bit. I'm sure they will at some point. Anyway, let's stop talking about it and go and have a look to see how it's all doing. So here we are in the top of the garden, and I just have to start obviously with the beautiful tree lily. Absolutely dozens and dozens and dozens of buds on it. Isn't that fantastic? So speaking of lateness, these buds are fattening up, but I would normally expect them to be by now on the cusp of opening. They normally open for me on about the 10th of July. Never mind, they will open at some point. Yay! If you remember the other day, under here, I popped in all that dill, most of which was already going to seed. But no matter, it can drop its seeds in there amongst all the poached egg seed. There's some love and a mist. Obviously that was the wallflower, that's gone over now. But yeah, I should just leave that to do its own thing and hope that in the meantime, down here, look, with teeny tiny cosmos that I planted the other day, just beyond the self-seeded calendula, there are 3 cosmos that self-seeded from last year. So it's not going to be particularly flowery here this summer, apart from, as I say, the tree lily, but hopefully this will all sort of start to come into action in the autumn, and that'd be lovely too when other things have gone over. So all the peppers, they're looking okay. I'm just going to say okay for now. Like I say, I think the whole garden looks like it needs a good drenching. The good thing though is that all my replacement cucumbers, all these along the back, they haven't been nibbled. I hope they won't be. Everything is starting to green up a little bit, starting to get towards that lowest rung of their climbing ladder. So yes, it's definitely a case of let's be patient. I'm sure it's one of those things where, you know, even in a couple of weeks' time, things will have started romping away and the garden will look really different again. But as you can see at the moment, it still looks sort of pretty bare and paltry, doesn't it? So these 2 rows of beans, these were a lot of plugging the gaps. This is all Trail of Tears now. This is a mixture of bolotti, helder, some coco sophie, and the rattle is right at the top. They're all alive. Let's say that. They're all alive, and a couple of them have started to climb at last. So for example, you see this is one of the helder. It is starting to get up there, and that frondy bit there, that needs tying in. because it hasn't found its pole. I'll just give it a little bit of guidance to begin with. In terms of all the squash, well, they haven't really done much yet, as you can see. These were all the original plantings, and these were all the sowings I did indoors at home. That was one of my plug the gaps. So I meant to say these are all the ones that were started indoors at home. But there are signs of life. Like I say, things went through their sort of yellow transplanty phase, and now they're getting green again, and a flower. Yay! So let's hope for some rain and this continued warmth, and I'm sure, like I say, in a couple of weeks they'll all be going bonkers. The tomatoes are finally starting to look like tomato plants, and I really, really, really must get a hurry on with getting sorted out some sticks and stakes to hold this lot up. I have done an initial removal of side shoots already, but I think I'm going to need to do that again in the next week or so. I think it's one of those things, I think literally over the next sort of 2 weeks or so, I am going to be busy with things in the garden, even though I've got to that, I've done all the planting, what have you, but now it's time to get busy with things like staking, tying, all that sort of thing. And talking of staking and tying, finally, I'll show you this one because it's a better example. Finally, the squash that went in about 3 weeks ago, they're starting to climb. Yay! Well, I say they're starting to climb. See that one over there? Actually, let me bring you round. That's not a very good shot. They are starting to grow, and that will mean climbing once I start to tie it in. So that one's just propped for now. But yeah, pretty much all the squash in this bed now are getting away. This is a great example of this one. That was my spare. The one that originally went in, oh, it's looking so weedy, but it's trying to perk up. So I'll leave them both in for now. So yeah, all the climbing squash, they're all starting to look like they're going to do something. Hurrah! Except, that is, for over there, that's the loofah, and they're really, really tiddly and struggling still. Ay caramba, what to do. I think just leave them to do their own thing. Where I've got second sowings of lettuce, some have come up, some haven't, so I should show you down here. Some have, some haven't. What will be, will be. But with these red Rubens, I've just been grabbing the odd leaf here and there, as and when I need them. Oh, and I forgot to mention, that's why the other day I just put in the coriander, which a ton of it was trying to bolt already, but a couple of them weren't. So you never know, here and here, I may actually get some half-decent coriander. Fingers crossed. My second sowing of spinach that I did, about the middle of June or so. Was it beginning of June? That's looking much happier than that first sowing. Again, I'm just starting to have the first few wee leaves from that. But if you compare that was, like I said, I think it was about the beginning of June with that lot from the beginning of May. My goodness me. There, let's come around this TP a second. Oopla, watch my footing. Sorry, I'm wobbling you. In the middle, that's my first sowings. In the back, it's chard, and in the front, it's beetroot. And that's going great guns. And again, I'm just having my first few chard leaves mainly, but I do occasionally have some beetroot leaves too. And then this is the second sowing of beetroot. They're all looking pretty grand as well. They're planted under 1, 2, 3 delicata. Those are the 2 spares I put in. And on the far side I've done more chard, and that's all coming along as well. Beautiful. Oh, I could eat chard till the cows come home. And then I ran out of chard seed, so I planted some more lettuce, and I think it's like a sort of a little gem type lettuce. But oh goodness, look at that poorly little loofah. I'm not sure. This one, it's climbed a little bit, and the main thing is here in the top, in the growing tip, it is looking a little bit stronger. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that. I would dearly, dearly love, after a couple of attempts, to finally get some loofah. I shan't hold my breath, I shall hope though. The peas have been going great guns in the middle of here. This little section at the end, they're pretty much ready to come out, so I can start to think about putting some brassicas in. Behind, if you remember, I put in my barely hatched Coco de Pampol seedlings. They're doing fine. And then, do you remember the ones that had really been nibbled and I thought I'll put them in anyway? Well, look how they've perked up. Fantastic. This one had a really, really, really hard nibbling, but again, it's trying to put out. So all the beans behind here, they're looking fine now. And in the front, oh, the lentils are looking gorgeous. Yeah, really buxom and healthy looking. I'm going to bring you in really close now because they're so little to see, but look at these teeny tiny flowers. Aren't they gorgeous? I've noticed all around the garden actually I'm starting to get flowers here and there. So that's the lentils, and then right next to them, talking of flowers, this is the Coco de Pampol, and look, it's flowering as well. Yay! Now the whole bed of Coco de Pampol, they're all still looking really rather yellow and weedy to me. So they went in about 10 days or so ago. Since they've been in, I have given them one fertilise, shall we say, 1 bucket of urinated water, so hopefully that will help them. I do hope so, but yeah, I mean, some of them are starting to green up a bit, and like I said, there's a couple there that are just starting to come into flower. So hopefully there will be a cocoa harvest after all. Oh, and let's see how the broad bean seed saving is going. They are looking really quite dry. Oopla! Oh yes, very dry. Let's have a little look. Can I do it one-handed? I will, oops, hang on, I can't do it one-handed. I will leave them a little longer. I'm in no hurry to get them, oops, sorry about that, to get them out of this bed. But yeah, they're still a little tiny bit green. But yeah, I'll leave those on there, and I reckon I will probably harvest them about, probably the end of July. The only thing that would make me harvest them sooner is if we suddenly started to be due loads and loads and loads and loads of rain. But we're not, so yeah, they can stay there, looking good. Hopefully that'll be about 100 seeds for me. Yay! Oh, this site makes me so happy. Oh, the calendula and the parsnips. They've just gone mad in the last week or so. Absolutely gorgeous. So I need to start harvesting these. Actually, I'm going to do, I think I mentioned it the other day, I'm going to do a separate video in the next couple of days on harvesting in terms of my calendula, in the herb bed. It's so fluffy. So yeah, in terms of both harvesting and just sort of deadheading all the flowers and care of all my flowers and herbs. But that will be another day. In amongst all of them, you can see, oh, look at that lovely green of the parsnips. So it looks like this year, and you can see it along this edge too. Yes, I should be having parsnips this year. Hooray! Oh my goodness, everything's been such a struggle, hasn't it? The chickpea bed with the gaps that I've plugged with my oh, so sorry, little rose de bain. But we'll give them a chance. And just like with the cocoa and the lentils, the very first flowers are coming. Look at that, it's so delicate. It's the most beautiful foliage, isn't it? I love it. It's so, oh, I'm going to use the word delicate again, but it's delicate. There's something almost, oh, it's ephemeral, isn't it? Beautiful. Once they start flowering, this is the stage at which I shall start to be wary of handling them with bare hands, bare arms, because it's at this stage that they can produce their dew that, if it gets on your skin, can make you photosensitive. So I shall just be a bit mindful now they're flowering. This double row of beans, yay, is actually looking not too bad. So all up this side, that's my gigantes, and all up this side are my Coco Sophie, which, if you remember, they look so like the Coco de Paimpol, but they're a climber. So I'm hoping they will be as gorgeous to eat as the Coco de Paimpol, because if they are, imagine how many more beans I'll get for the space, just because of the smaller footprint, because they're climbing. This is one of the direct sown ones that got going fairly well, fairly soon. It's now up to, oh, about 3 feet or so. Likewise, the gigantes are all up to about 3 feet or so now. That's the plugins, the gaps, where I had gaps and plugged them. And this is one of the direct sown ones. It's now up to here, which is about head height with me, which is nearly 6 feet. Yay! So they're all looking like they're getting away. They've all found their poles. They're doing what they're supposed to do. There's another of the Coco Sophie starting to climb. Beautiful little leaves as they open, aren't they? Oh, just while we're down this end, the potatoes. So hang on a sec, I'll tell you about that in a minute, but that's the new potatoes, of which I've had a few already. Yum, really good. And this is my main crops, covered in their little flowers. Now, I have in the past always removed the flowers. Partly habit, partly sort of, that's what other folk do, with the belief that you're then putting the energy into the tuber formation. But this is another one I was thinking about in terms of large scale and what farmers do. And I was thinking, I'm sure farmers don't go through their fields picking off all their potato flowers, do they? So I'm leaving them this year as a bit of an experiment to see if it makes any difference. It's one of those crops that I like. I like my potatoes, but if I have a disaster with them, I won't lose any sleep because, well, they're just not that important to me. I like them, but if I don't have them, you know, like I say, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep. Here in the rock and coal bed, remember the other day I was transplanting with my bulb planter. I don't think they liked it. That one's not looking too happy. And this one is looking positively miserable. They may perk up. I'll keep an eye on them, and I'll keep you posted about how they're doing, because I know a lot of you thought it was a great idea to use the bulb planter. If they perk up and it works, all well and good. If not, well, at least I tried. Here's another one that was transplanted that doesn't look very happy. There were a couple that I transplanted that are looking perfectly fine. For instance, that one. Maybe they need doing when they're smaller. Who knows? Yep, I'll keep you posted. A couple of squash I put on the end of this bed are looking absolutely fine. Hooray! Now, carrots and leeks. Well, you'll have seen the other day. I'm really pleased actually, because I just thought I was going to have another carrot disaster year. But also the leeks, all the leeks that I transplanted, they're looking perfectly happy as well. And as I was mentioning in that video, these leeks, for the first time ever, I'm growing them ostensibly as a summer and autumn veg. So I'll be having them out and scoffing them before October, before the second season with the allium leaf miner. It may be that I have them all out and it's too much to use in one go, so I'll chop them and freeze them, or I'll turn them into soups or something and then freeze them. But yeah, it's another one of those things I'm delighted with this year, that the direct sowing worked perfectly well. And actually, I saved a lot of faff at home with pricking out and bringing them down and hardening and all that. So yeah, fingers crossed that's turned into a good thing to have done. The onions look like they're going to get to the stage to be lifted soon. Oh, it seems too soon. It seems too sudden this year. This is the reds. Let me see if I can find one to give you a close-up. They're all a bit under the mulch. They are fattening up. It's hard to see, they've got so much mulch around them. But they are fattening up in there. Fabulous. Generally, I think, I'm trying to remember now, but I seem to think that each year I take my reds out after the whites. The whites are generally ready sooner. Actually, I think that's going to be the case this year because they are starting to flop over a little bit. Yeah, you can see that they've bulked up nicely. I'm just trying to give you an idea of the size by whoopla, putting my hand next to it. Perfectly adequate. Perfectly adequate for me. Oh, some lovely ones in here. Yeah, I don't reckon it will be too long. I reckon maybe, oh, yeah, they'll be out by the end of July. And in their place will go, I'm just going to swing you around into here, will go some of these brassicas. Got tons of them. I've still got this last little lot to prick out. But everything's looking okay in there. They do every year. They just have to sit there and wait. And then, like I say, when the onions come out, that will be 2 beds of brassicas. Also, oh, morning Rusty, where the new potatoes come out, that will also be brassicas. That'll be my purple sprouting broccoli. It jumped from here to there. And then when the main crops come out, that will then be my garlic bed. You see, we're hardly into the summer and I'm already thinking about the autumn and the next sowings. Anyway, the flint corn, well, mixed bag. They're finally starting to perk up a bit, green up a bit, but 2 of the 4 that I had from the shop bought seed have, well, they've disappeared. One from there, they didn't make it. But the 2 remaining ones, they're looking okay. That's the paprika peppers. And these 2 are starting to... Oh, grasshopper. Grasshopper just flew across the screen. Grasshopper, cricket, I've never known the difference. But yeah, actually while we're here I can show you, look, they're just starting to get ready to put their flowers out too. Wow, it seems like we've been waiting so long for everything and now... suddenly, it's all happening at once. Hello, Jiminy. Are you going to sing us a song? No, let's leave that one in peace. Yep, they're all fine. The celery I'm delighted with because, oh, well, as you know from the earlier video, it was such a faff and a fiddle to get going this year. And it was so weedy when I put it out. I was convinced that it was going to be mashed by the sugs and snails, but look at all this lovely growth that's coming here. Brilliant. Do you know what? I don't think it's going to be too long before I can start nicking a few leaves here and there from the celery too. At this stage, obviously, when I have them, I would just probably have them raw in a salad because they're so little. But yeah, they're doing great. Yay! Then over to the fennel. I have to get you low and close. Oh, look at that. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All the rows have come up. 1, 2, not quite so many in that row. There we go, 3, the 3rd row, and a few in the 4th row just along the plank. But that lot have copped it because somebody's been digging. I leave the tiniest bit of soil bare and it gets dug. But yes, there's going to be fennel risotto aplenty this year, I think. And actually, considering I thought I'd sowed them really quite thinly, I will have to do some thinnings. I'll wait till they're a bit bigger to thin them, because then when they're a bit bigger, when I thin them, I'll toss them in a salad. Fantastic. So I just showed you inside the cultivar. Oh, look how well the sage and rosemary look. When you think how hard I cut that back in February, beginning of March, beautiful. It's just one of those things as well as you walk past. Have a smell, everybody. You can't help but just brush and smell. Obviously all the lavender mist is over pretty much, so I'll be cutting a load of that out when I do my flowers video. Calming down the back end of the garden now. So this achocha, it's doing fine. It's getting away, but I want to show it in comparison in a second with the one I direct sowed, because this one is coming into flower. Now last year it didn't come into flower, the direct sown one. I think it was too late. But just look at the difference how this indoor started one compared with, oops, let me just bring you along the path to show you. Hello feet. That was indoor sown and this was the direct sown. And it makes me think, just start them direct each year. The only thing with starting them direct is I have to start them later, and therefore they are not going to produce any gourds. Oh, there you go. You see, it's actually, oops, it's up to the bunting already. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to compare with the one that started indoors and it's got its flowers, what those flowers are going to do, what they will produce. But in the meantime, I've got this one for this gorgeous lush green and a great bit of compost come the autumn. The French peppers in the grow bag, they're looking perfectly happy. The pelargoniums that I had on the shed step got really dry and weren't looking happy, but they're starting to pick up again a bit now, thank goodness. And then what else is on the deck? Oh, various other pelargoniums, and now in the trough of this one. I love the white, isn't that gorgeous? And the wee chamomile that I popped in there after it was already trying to flower. But like I said, with it being a perennial, I'll have these flowers off and then hope it survives into next year and they'll get bigger and then they can go into the herb bed. More of the Dulong French pepper. Oh, they're flowering too. Wow, these flowers have all come just in the last few days. Do you know what? I think it's because of the heat. I think they've loved the heat. I just need to keep on top of watering. But hurrah! Oh, and there's another one around this side too. Hello, little flower. And these sweet peas are being so lovely. Really, really enjoying those. I'm so glad to finally have grown some sweet peas. And the last little area, and it does need a bit of work, the herb bed. You can see the English lavender is really, really starting to, these blooms are just on the cusp of opening. Gorgeous. I've had a few chamomile heads away already, but I need to do a big harvest of those. This lovely splash of orange in the front, gorgeous. So where I've got these calendulas this year, I'm planning on just filling the whole of the front here with the chamomile, if that chamomile survives. Yay, lovely. Oh, and the thyme is coming into flower as well. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, I can hear bees. I don't want to disturb any, but look, the thyme with the lavender. So lovely. Oh, heavenly. And then just behind it, I've got a purple hyssop here and a white hyssop here. These flowers have literally, again, just in the last few days started to come out, and the bees are loving them too. Oh my goodness, I'm keeping these bees happy. So, the St. John's wort, it needs attention. It will get it soon. The tansy, oh, it's lovely. That's starting to go mad, wonderful. Behind it, the feverfew, which for now I've just tied up. I've got this big old stake just stuck in the middle. It's just like, oh, something tied up a bit, but that needs some attention too. I'm thinking I'm going to have a really hard harvest of it, and then I'm trying to show you underneath. you can see there's a ton of new growth ready to start. So I'm thinking I'll have a good harvest and then actually cut it right back and let that new growth come up, and at the same time allow a bit of light into the back end, so things like the sweet Sicily have got a chance, the lovage on the other side. Let me see if I can just tiptoe around to show you. That's the lovage down there. Oh, and I've got a stray borage that's come up. Brilliant. But yeah, all in all, I think, well, how do I feel? I think the garden's okay. I think it's doing okay. It's definitely a garden that needs to be watered, but by rain as opposed to me with the watering cans. Everything that's in the ground, well, apart from a couple of those rock and coral that I transplanted, which are looking now a bit sorry, but everything that's in the ground is definitely growing or showing signs of being about to burst into growth. Things are darkening up, as in where they were a bit yellow and sad when they got put in the ground, they're now nice and a dark, robust green. So I think, oh, I love this view. Oh, I love this little view with all the flowers. Yeah, I think I'm okay with where everything's at. I think I'm happy with it, and I need to just sort of leave it alone to do its own thing, apart from watering, of course. And while it's doing its own thing, I can get on with the other jobs like turning the compost heap, finding stakes for the tomatoes, doing a bit of tying in here and there. But generally, just now taking my foot off the pedal a bit and enjoying the garden. Yay! So, there we have it. The garden at the beginning of July. It's getting there. The most important thing, of course, though, is that that's there. So, on that note, I shall remain optimistic. I will say to you all for now, cheerio. I hope so much that your gardens are starting to fill out and that you're not, I hope you're not as dry as us. I hope you're as warm as us, because that's great. But yeah, wherever you're at, I hope you're happy with how things are going. And I will see you really soon for another little session out here playing with the flowers. Until then, take care of yourselves. See you soon.